Hello, everyone. I'm Meeta Shamam. I'm the CEO of TAFTA, the Association for the Aged, which is located in Durban, in South Africa. I'm also a CommonAge board member, and I'm going to speak to you very briefly today about um, the submission that we had planned to do at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, in particular, the People's Forum. The People's Forum held the theme of our health, our planet, our future. And part of what the delegation, the CommonAge delegation was hoping to achieve at CHOGM in Rwanda was to advocate for a multi-generational Commonwealth. So today I'm going to share with you our experiences in terms of South Africa and how older people within our space lend itself to the theme of our health, our future, and our planet. So if I had to go into the South African situation, I would like to use these wonderful ladies, Kay and Elaine, to just demonstrate the experiences of people within my space and talk about how they are celebrating a multi-generational Commonwealth and to give you a glimpse of what could be achieved. So these two ladies, Elaine and Kay, honor us by being part of the TAFTA family. They moved into TAFTA at different times. Kay and her husband had moved into TAFTA 14 years ago. Her husband is now late. And Elaine moved into one of our buildings in 2019. But prior to her moving in, she was known to TAFTA because her dad was cared for in one of our care units. Both ladies absolutely refuse to support a narrative which positions them as older people as weak, as being needy, and without value. They want to be seen first and foremost as human beings with strengths and with weaknesses. They also want people to recognize that there has been good moments, but there's also been some trying times, and God knows they've had some really trying times in their lives. So when you speak to them, you can't help but be captivated by their humanity. So when you start talking about health and what that means for these two ladies, I think let's start off by contextualizing that South Africa, like many other countries in the world, have endorsed the UN Decade of Healthy Aging. And when the world was meant to commence with all of the activities towards this decade and start off this decade with a renewed commitment to the well-being of older people, we were launched into a world health crisis with COVID-19. And Elaine and Kay, like many other residents at TAFTA, were placed under lockdown conditions, level 5 lockdown, which was complete restrictions of movement. It was a difficult time, and especially for them because they had just started up a dance group. And Elaine had explained that she wanted to help during the time of lockdown and had taken on many tasks on a voluntary capacity. They also realized, both Elaine and Kay, how important it was for older people to keep moving and to keep healthy. And they started up exercise and dance classes within their context, and they also play bowls. They organize it, they coordinate it, and it's their group. So it really gives them a sense of purpose. While they do what they can to promote physical health, both ladies have a twinkle in their eye when they talk about the effect of physical exercise on the mental well-being of older people. There's an incredible element in peer-to-peer encouragement and support. As these ladies reflect on all that they do to assist, they are mindful of the shortcomings of our public health system in South Africa and the challenges of short staff, shortage, poor hospital infrastructure, lack of medication, uncoordinated delivery of services, and the attitude of some staff to elder people are things that they know all too well. It's their experiences, and it really does talk to the issue around accessibility of health services. There are key messages we take from KNE. Firstly, they are part of the solution. We need to abandon this assumption that older people do not want to be involved in their health. The lesson I learned from these two ladies is that they want the invitation to be part of the journey towards healthy lives to be relatable. And what can be more relatable than messages from their peers? A long-term care system is meant to provide support and assistance to enable older people to do and to be that which they value most. Understanding what they value starts with the conversations and dialogues, and herein lies the starting point. The second theme that was carried by the Commonwealth People's Forum was the issue around our planet and looking at issues around food security and climate change. And as I speak to Elaine, she starts talking about another project she's involved in, where she volunteers at a local school helping to set up vegetable gardens. She talks about her life growing up on a farm in Harding, which is in KwaZulu-Natal, one of the provinces in South Africa. Elaine's great-grandfather was from Liverpool, and he married a local South African woman. Elaine reflects on the question of her coloredness and comments that when they were growing up on the farm, this was not something that they were concerned about because everyone worked together. It was with the institutionalization of apartheid that everyone was acutely aware of segregation based on race. She reflects back on her life growing up on the farm and a look of respect that conveys strongly the message that the earth provides for what is needed. Like Elaine, we are experiencing more and more older people who are aware of the impact of our actions on the planet. The call from older people who approach us for care and support is for us to engage in recycling activities, sustainable alternate green energy, and they ask that we are responsible visitors on this earth. Many of the elders are engaged in all kinds of recycling initiatives, from eco blocks to paper recycling. As I think of Elaine, I cast my thoughts back to Colleen, another resident who in her 70s was instrumental in helping my staff prepare food parcels for people who had been affected by the riots in KwaZulu-Natal a year ago. I reflect back on the responses of our older people to disasters, and in Durban, we have been faced with flooding 2 months in a row, which has severely impacted on our infrastructure in our province. Roads washed away, entire water reticulation systems having to be replaced, disruption of the stormwater and sanitation systems, and the list goes on and on. There are many who believe that the increased storms are related to global warming. What is the role of older people in addressing the challenges we face? Perhaps the answer lies in understanding how older people interface with the Sustainable Development Goals. Elaine's example of the food garden development at the schools is a direct impact in terms of ending poverty and promotes zero hunger and promotes good health and well-being. Colleen's eco-blocks talks to sustainable cities and communities and responsible consumption. So it's only, I think here again, the lesson from Elaine and from Kay is that when it comes to issues around our planet, issues around climate change, older people have a role to play. They bring wisdom to the conversation. They also bring an understanding of what worked in the past. And it's important as we develop solutions to the climate crisis that we involve older people in the conversations and as part of the solutions as well. And then we start talking about the last thing, which was our future. And very often, people don't see the role of older people when we think about the future of the Commonwealth. There's a huge focus of on youth, and rightfully so, because we have quite a large population of youth who make up the Commonwealth. I think it's over 60%. And while we acknowledge the presence of youth and the presence of programs to support youth, and while we harness the raw energy that younger generations bring in, it becomes essential for us to include the contribution of older people as mentors, guides, and wise counsel. The shift in the demographic profile of all Commonwealth countries is well documented in the publication Aging in the Commonwealth. The report highlights the reality that Africa has the youngest population, and we anticipate that in the near future, Africa will have the fastest growing population of older people. This means that we cannot ignore the call to action. We have to lay the foundation for a supportive and enabling environment which positions older people of the future differently, not as a burden to society, but as a critical thread in the fabric of society. Let's understand what Kay and Elaine see as their role. And this is what they said. When we go to school and work in the garden, the children speak to us. Sometimes because they are curious, but sometimes because they are comfortable to speak to someone who will not judge them and who will give them the right advice. They go on to explain that they have no vested interest, but are happy that the children ask them questions about life. With the elders in the community, they see their roles as being spreaders of joy and delight at the thought that they could alleviate some distress amongst their peers. There are many Elaines and Kays in our world. I don't believe that what I am telling you is new. There are examples of how older people in the community are critical. I think that the time has come to recognize and appreciate the value of older people and to appreciate the richness that they add to our life. In summary, then, the Commonwealth People's Forum is about the voice of the people. And our call is to ensure that it is the voice of all people, older people included. Thank you very much.